Hi guys, it's Raythe, and I am answering another set of Ask Me Anything questions. This one is back to some writing questions for me, which I always find amazing that anyone's interested in. But yay, I get to talk about my writing. Okay, so the first question is, how do you keep track of all the ongoing storylines and chapters so you don't get confused when writing multiple stories at once? The truth is, I do get confused. Just recently, I forgot that Christian knew something important about Balthazar and Everdark. A member was like, remember in chapter X when Y happened? And I'm like, head desk. However, I'm thankful that for the most part, my brain keeps track of all this somehow. And I do have series Bibles for other stuff. The problem is that I didn't do the series Bibles for the old stuff, and writing something like Sanctuary 2 or The Fell, where we have characters and storylines that stretch back to 2011. Well, yeah. Okay. So I admit I've had to retcon a few things. Question. Do you have a complete outline of each story finished before starting to write, or do you make up the story as you go? If it is the first, how are you able to integrate our ideas from the comments so well into the stories? And the answer to that is, I don't have an outline of a story finished before I start because I couldn't integrate your comments into the stories if I did. In fact, I just now completed a first book of a 5-part series that you guys will get first if you're members. And it really messed me up to have an outline of the whole book because I wrote to the outline and not to the characters, meaning a lot of good stuff got way lost. And basically this book I'd written ended up being 2 books, and I ended up throwing out most of it and actually writing something that's far better. Although I cannot wait to hear your guys' comments on it. I admit, it's so hard for me writing in a vacuum. I can't stand it, to be honest with you. So I'm never going to actually be ever writing to an outline. How do you plot out universe creation? And the truth is, I start with a question. What if? What if dragon shifters ruled the earth? What would the world look like? How would people react to that? Would they lose faith in their religions, for example? Would world governments still exist? What if you were just a human in a world full of shifters? What would your life be like? And as I answer these questions, the world starts being built. But that is just one part of universe creation, because really the heart of every story is the couple. So I really have to figure out how the couple's going to be in this story, and then more and more stuff gets put in there. Okay, question. How in depth are your plans for the universe of the story before you start writing? And how much do you come up with as you need for a specific plot? Honestly, like I said, I don't really have very in-depth plots because I honestly allowed the characters to lead me and then your comments to lead me. The characters, when I begin, have to be pretty fleshed out with their own problems. But I have to admit, as I've written some of them, I realized that I wasn't right about what those problems really were, what I envisioned, and the character is actually showing me something. But I am doing a lot more world building, especially now because I'm doing a lot of high fantasy. And while it's urban fantasy, it's a hugely different world. For example, in Elven King's Blade, we have our current world, and then we have the Elven realm. And then in Dragon's Reign, our current world as it would be if it were ruled by dragon shifters. So I really had to understand both of those things very well. Like, what is the new world like, and what is the Elven realm like? Question. Do you get burned out on writing so much? And if not, why? How do you keep going? Friends? Comments on your stories? Roller coasters like Gil on CSI? And the answer is, I don't get burned out. I actually get really edgy when I'm not writing. I think because I've done it every day since 2010, 2011, that it's really become so ingrained in me. And my mind is always working on a story, always. So getting it down is actually a good thing for me. And I will tell you that, writing is a muscle that as you use it, it goes stronger and wants to be used all the time. But I also keep going because I know that the members are expecting a chapter on a certain date. So even when I'm tired or not feeling well, or I've had a really crap day at work, I still come home and I find honestly solace and happiness writing for you guys and knowing that you're waiting. And, this is something that we don't talk about as artists, but I'm also a business person. I've taken your money, which means I have to provide the product. Even though I'm quote unquote an artist, I'm a business person, and I simply know that it takes a lot to give your money to an artist to get something that you want back. And you need to have the assurance that you will get what you're paying for. Just as if you were going to pay for, a pack of gum or, a restaurant meal or whatever. You should get what you pay for. Everyone knows that I have fur babies, me. Have you ever wanted to write a book about a werecat based off of your babies? No. Mew, my American shorthair cat, has played a role in tons of the stories. Every cat you see is her in the books. Seriously, it's her. She demands it. Her personality is such that you wouldn't like her as a love interest because she's so mean. We call her the pink nose of doom, with all due affection, but it's true. This person loves writing, but they always find something that bugs me about what they write. And how do they get over that hump? And the answer is, when I'm having difficulty, it is usually because something I'm writing in the story isn't right. I am trying to force it to go against what it would naturally do. And I'm finding that I'm just sitting there going, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Why? Oh, it's because in the last chapter, I made a big mistake. But if you're new at writing, I sincerely and honestly suggest you take some creative writing courses, because writing a story has some rules that if you learn them will really help you get beyond what seems impossible today. I had a writing teacher that truly expanded my horizons and had me slapping my forehead and saying, oh, of course, that's why, And even to this day, I am learning things about writing that are helping me improve my storytelling hugely. So I like I said, really search out teachers and read a lot too. That also helps. Okay, question. First, I was wondering if you have ever thought of writing a heavy angst turned fluff kind of story. And the answer to that is I think I have sort of done that. I would say my stories have a lot of angst, but also a lot of fluff. I think The Pact really is a prime example of this because the humor in it, even though it is really dark, also, The Fell has just so much stuff where it's just the fluff of them eating and drinking and going on dates and being cute and all this kind of stuff. I think that's really, so I think we do have that. A question. You've mentioned before about MPreg. I was wondering if you were considering writing a story like that. And the answer is, as I've said before, no. I will not write an MPreg story. It's not my kink, and therefore it's not something I want to invest time in. You really have to be into the kink that you're writing. I know other authors maybe are able to do it because they're just writing what they think will sell, but I write what I love. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with MPreg. I know people who love it. It's just not my thing, so I just don't write it. Question. What advice would you give people who want to start writing or who want to self-publish? And there's actually a lot to say here. Too much to say, really, in this AMA. But what I would tell them is that now is the most amazing time to publish because you have Amazon and Barnes & Noble and Apple and Kobo. You guys can have your books out there with Stephen King and all those authors you love. You have the same amount of shelf space as they do. So if you can write a good book and put it up there and get eyeballs on it and the Amazon algorithms to work for you, you can be a big time author. And that is unbelievable because before, think of everything we had to go through. First of all, there were only a few publishers that would even consider gay stuff. And you know what? They were all online and I don't know how good they were. And then secondly, you had to have somebody who would have the same taste as you, who thought this would sell. And even if they thought it would sell, it would have to sell enough. So there's all these considerations that are now gone. But that isn't to say that you shouldn't treat writing as a business. So I've seen a lot of people who say, oh, I don't have money for, a good cover, or, I don't have money for an editor or whatever. Now Not a big one for editors, has a whole nother thing, but when you're starting out, you really do need somebody to pressure check your stories. So remember, there are beta readers out there for free, and there's also saving up for those covers. A cover is really important. Really look what's out there. So there's lots more to talk about that, but we're just going to leave it there. Just know that right now is just an amazing time to be a writer and take advantage of it. Okay, so that's going to be it for today. I really hope you liked the answers to these questions. If you have more, please put them in the comments and I'll be sure to get back to you. Thanks. Bye.